Welcome back. This is the part 4 of What If Naruto was reincarnated into Rimuru. A huge thanks to 𝐤𝐢𝐳1412 for this story. And as always, like and sub if you haven't already. And let's begin.
𝐫𝐸 gazed at the barrier with interest. This barrier is sure impressive. I never seen someone make an invisible barrier before, said her ecstatically. Rimuru glanced at her. It was Naruto's special ability to make this barrier. He was a bit paranoid. So, he had it stood after the house was done built. Explain him nonchalantly. 𝐫𝐸 hummed in understand, and they both stood in front of the entrance door. Rimuru knocked the door. They wait for Naruto to answer it. 2 minutes later, the door opened, but it wasn't Naruto that opened the door. Instead, it was a man with spiky long red hair and red eyes, completely topless, that answered the door. Rimuru was startled, haven't expect someone else to answer the door except Naruto. While 𝐫𝐸 blinked olishly upon seeing her friend. "Guy, what are you doing here?" asked 𝐫𝐸 obliviously. Rimuru turned to 𝐫𝐸. "You know him?" asked Rimuru warily. 𝐫𝐸 nodded simply. "Yeah, he is one of my demon lord friends. 𝐫𝐞𝐪𝐮, the first and oldest demon lord," introduced 𝐫𝐸 casually. Rimuru's eyes widened in bewilderment and turned to look at Guy in disbelief, while Guy had his arms crossed on his chest and gazed at the two naturally. Well, you here too, 𝐫𝐸. I thought that I felt a familiar magical power coming toward this town with a high speed, so it's truly you," said Guy nonchalantly. 𝐫𝐸 huffed and pouted. "I can't help that there was an interesting person that can give me an entertainment. Are you the same? You also came here because you interest with Rimuru too, right?" the girl asked obnoxiously. Rimuru jerked in disdain when Guy's attention were on him next. "Well, the slime really caught my attention at first, but my eyes was attached on Naruto the most," said him straightforwardly. Rimuru blinked while 𝐫𝐸 tilted her head. "The divine fox? Did he that strong that he caught your interest?" asked 𝐫𝐸, innocently curious. Guy smirked pleasantly. "More than that. While his strength is equal with us, true demon lord, and I love to have a fight with him, there is something else that caught my interest the most," remarked the redhead enthusiastically. Rimuru was surprised to know that Naruto is much stronger than he knew off, but he was more curious of what Naruto had done to caught an interest of the most powerful demon lord. "And that is?" he asked anxiously. Guy grinned smugly and was about to answer him when a familiar voice called from inside. "Guy, how long do you want to stand there? Invite them in." The redhead blinked and then glanced back inside, only to be met with the blue eyes that he started to adore. Rimuru looked to the side and saw Naruto, but what made his expression turn horror is the bite mark and hickey that was presented on the blonde kitsune collarbone. "And Naruto, your neck." The slime boy croaked out hesitantly. Naruto sighed tiredly and covered his love mark with his turtleneck shirt and started to retreat inside. "Come on in, I'll make a tea and snack while we talk." "Guy, please wear something on. It's inappropriate to be topless in front of guests," said the blonde flatly. Guy huffed. "I'm also a guest too, you know. Why you being so cold?" said him sulkily. Naruto glanced back at Guy, unimpressed. "What kind of guest? Sleeping with the guardian of the foreign nation? If there is a guest like that, I'm already chopped their precious thing a moment before they even get that close to me," said Naruto nonchalantly and walked inside. 𝐫𝐸 blinked in oblivion while Rimuru's eyes widened in flustered face, and for Guy, he grinned joyfully in contentment. By what the blonde said, he means that he's not the type to spread his legs just for anyone but only Guy. And that was enough to make the demon lord happy to hear it. With a thrilled step, Guy followed after the blonde with 𝐫𝐸 and Rimuru trailed behind. Rimuru helped close the door, yet his expression shows a slight frustration, thinking of what he just saw and heard a moment ago. He can't believe that Naruto had it in him to be sleeping with a man that he just barely met. Moreover, the one he slept with is actually demon lord. There must be a reason why Naruto let this demon lord to have his way on him. And Rimuru was curious of what it is, but at the same time he was anxious. What if the demon lord guy have done something that makes his friend obeyed without a fight? Or even worse, manipulated him? Glancing at Naruto that was at the kitchen preparing some tea and snack, the blonde expression looked normal so far to him. Maybe he was exasperated things. Maybe there is something going on here that he didn't know about, and yet Naruto did. Naruto looked calm about this, so there was nothing to worry about. He trusts Naruto that there was nothing happen, and this two demon lords wasn't a threat for their town. I will be blunt. Guy here, "Is my soulmate," said Naruto suddenly. A moment after Naruto prepared a tea and cookies, which had 𝐫𝐸 ate the pastry with delight. When they took their respective seat at the living room, he said that sentence straightforwardly while pointing at Guy that was sitting next to him. His expression is someone that already resigned for his fate, while Guy grinned in thrilled smile. When Rimuru heard that statement, he blinked owlishly and looked at Naruto perplexedly. "Come again," the slime croaked out wearily. While for 𝐫𝐸, she jumped from her seat with enthusiastic expression. "Ooh, so you finally found your soulmate, huh? Good for you, Guy," said her obnoxiously. Guy chuckled smugly. "I'd appreciate that, 𝐫𝐸. After all, I've been looking for my soulmate for millennia, and now I finally found him. I won't let him go," said Guy and turned to Naruto with a thrilled smile. Naruto was undeterred and looked at Guy with bored expression and sighed. "Just so to inform you, I won't be following you or staying with you at your palace," informed him dully and take a sip of his tea. Guy blinked and nodded neutrally. "I figured that much. You're the type that hold your responsibility greatly. After all, I've heard that you were a new guardian of this great 𝐸𝐺 forest, so a lot of responsibility in your hands. So, I've expected that you don't want to live together with me. Besides, my ice palace have nothing much for entertainment other than bared land of snow and storm. Only 𝐫𝐨Z𝐝, my co-partner, and my demon subordinates living there. I'm sure you would be bored living there," say the Dark Lord. Naruto blue eyes glanced at Guy and hummed pleasantly. "All right then. I'm happy to hear that. Thank you for understanding, Guy," said him neutrally and smiled gratefully at the Dark Lord. Thump! Guy's heart throbbed when seeing that smile. Even though he didn't have a heart to begin with since he is a demon, it's the first smile he got from his soulmate, and he loves seeing it. "Don't mind it. I do this for your happiness. So seeing and making you smile is the greatest gift to me," replied Guy delightedly. Naruto smiled softly and kissed the demon cheek fondly. "I really appreciate it, thank you." Guy beamed delightedly at the action and lay his head on the blonde's shoulder. Naruto smiled at his soulmate and then glanced at Rimuru. "I'm sure you're confused right now, Rimuru. How about some explanation?" suggests the blonde neutrally. Rimuru sighed in relief, glad that they didn't ignore him, and nodded in acceptance. "Yes, please." The blonde nodded back and started his explanation. "If you didn't know yet, this world has a soulmate hierarchy. I just know about this from Guy a few hours ago before I called for you. Not most people in this world blessed with soulmate, and the one that did, they receive a mark on their body. A soul marks that symbolize the fact that you have a soulmate." The blue-haired boy blinked owlishly. "By soul marks, you mean? Like this one?" asked Rimuru and nervously showed both of his wrists, presenting Naruto and the other two of blue and red rose inked onto his skin like a tattoo. Naruto and two demon lords were next to blink upon seeing the sight of markings. "So, you also have a soulmate too, huh? Moreover, you have two," state Naruto nonchalantly. "Ooh, two soulmates. Good for you, Rimuru," chimed 𝐫𝐸 enthusiastically. Guy hummed as he rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "It's rare to see anyone with two soulmates before." The demon started carefully, his words slow and thoughtful as he glanced at the other's wrists. "Though, I guess if anyone were to have such a rare occurrence happen to them, I'd think it'd be you. However, it seems that your soulmates aren't connected to one another. They're only connected to you. Is that a bad thing?" the slime asked, arched his eyebrow. "Well, in all the cases I've heard about people having multiple soulmates, each one has been connected to everyone in the bond," Guy said, shrugged his shoulder. "For example, if someone were to have multiple soulmates, each one would be the same symbol. If their symbol was a circle, let's say, then their soulmates would also have circles, and thus they all would be bounded to one another, and no one would be an outcast in the group, for lack of a better word." Rimuru hummed non-committally. The explanation wasn't the best, but he could get the gist of what the demon meant. Not even if the circle looked slightly different. The demon lord shook his head. "No, in order for one to be your soulmate, their soul mark, the symbol that appears on one's body, has to be the exact same, from the design to the coloring." Rimuru whistled lowly, holding out his hand. "Wow, that's quite specific." "Indeed," the redhead agreed. "But it is considered an honor to have a soulmate," Guy said and pulled Naruto's waist to him closer and leaned his head on the blonde's shoulder blade, inhaling his scent pleasantly. Naruto huffed fondly despite the flushed expression shown on his gorgeous face, and caressed Guy's red hair tenderly in fondness. Rimuru hummed once more, staring at the markings on his wrist blankly. Naruto looked at his friend and 𝐫𝐤 little brother metaphorically. By the way, Rimuru, we forgot to say this, but you shouldn't show these off so openly. Rimuru titled his head, confused. Well, how do you know if someone's your soulmate if you don't show your markings off? You just need to touch them. 𝐫𝐸 replied easily, munching her cookies with delight. Skin-to-skin contact, I mean, even grazing each other's arm could tell you. You will feel a spark and your life will feel like it has been completed, as if you had found a piece of the puzzle you didn't even know you were missing. The slime remained silent, eyeing the girl carefully as he relayed the information. It sounded like the Dragonoid has had experience in this field before, but he wasn't about to trespass on such personal territory. There are just some things you don't ask about. So instead, he sighed, leaning back slightly and cracking his neck. But then, his memories suddenly flashed to when he remembered that he had experience of what 𝐫𝐸 had told him earlier. It was when he first met the 6 ogres before. If he not mistake, he had felt that spark when he made a contact with. Rimuru suddenly jolted on his sit, surprising the 3 in the room. Rimuru, you okay? Asked Naruto in concern. The slime looked up to him sheepishly. I think I already know who my soulmates are. Reply him timidly. Naruto and 2 demon lords blinked and flabbergasted. What? Chapter 15. Naruto slammed his hands on the lower table hard and looked at his friend. You mean, you already make a contact with your soulmates and you never know? Questioned him in bewildered. Rimuru rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Well, I had no clue about this soulmate thingy until you told me. So, how do I notice about making a contact with my soulmates? Remark him defensively. The blonde sighed resignedly. You're right. If not for Guy telling me this, I also would be clueless about it. Guy chuckled fondly. Well, what do I say? Being honest to your soulmate is the key of happiness, said him proudly. Naruto rolled his eyes and huffed, then turned back to Rimuru. And so, who are your soulmates? Are they someone that I know? Asked him curiously. Rimuru bashfully nodded in confirmation. Naruto smirked mischievously. Well then, who is it? I bet it was Benimaru and 𝐸. Pointed him cheekily. The slime face flushed in embarrassment and looked away to hide his red face. But he turned on the wrong side when his eyes met with 𝐫𝐸's cerulean blue. Rimuru's face is red. Red like tomato. Ha ha! Laughed 𝐫𝐸 obnoxiously, making Rimuru redder than before. Shaking his head on getting rid of his embarrassment, he looked back at the blonde kitsune. By the way, Naruto, there's something I'm curious about. Naruto tilted his head passively. What is it? Rimuru fidgeted on his seat, looking nervous all of a sudden. I know this is not my place, and I'm sorry beforehand if I said something that will offend you, but I know that you're not the type to let someone that you barely met into your bed, even if he is your soulmate. So why? Naruto blinked owlishly and glanced at Guy. The demon lord stared at the slime and stupefied. He probably didn't expect that question. The blonde rubbed the back of his head in sheepish. There was uncertainty in his voice, and the blonde glanced at the pink-haired girl that's still enthusiastically eating the cookies. Turning back to Rimuru, the blonde spoke in their shared mind link. It was because I was in my heat cycle, explained the divine fox in telepathy. Rimuru blinked and tilted his head in confusion. Naruto sighed and nudged Guy to bring his attention on him. Pulling his mate close to him, he whispered, I need to explain Rimuru about my secondary gender. Can you distract 𝐫𝐸 while I'll talk to him? Guy nodded in understand, and Naruto turned back to his friend. Let's talk at the veranda outside. The blonde suggested and pointed outside. Rimuru nodded and followed him. And with that, the two spent time outside with Naruto explained to the slime about his secondary gender. Time skip. Naruto waved at Rimuru and 𝐫𝐸 after sending them off. Rimuru decided to go back home and have the talk with Benimaru and 𝐸 about the possibility that they are soulmates. In the meantime, 𝐫𝐸 want to explore the place more to have fun, and Rimuru don't have a choice, but follow after her just to make sure she didn't cause trouble in town. After watching them disappear, Naruto closed the door and sighed. He then felt a familiar grip on his waist and looked to his side to see Guy were wrapping his arms on him. Guy, that was embracing him from behind, leaned his nose on his collarbone and inhale his scent. Your scent was back again, which means your heat not over yet. How about we go at it for another round? suggested him excitedly. Naruto glanced at the redhead blankly and pushed Guy's head away from him gently. I already took suppressant earlier, so I'm pass, replied him flatly. Guy pouted dejectedly. Come on, just one round. It would help your body to receive more relief. You can't always depend on the medicine forever. What if it lost its effectiveness? Moreover, that was the last tablet you have, right? I'm already surprised to know that you're not a creature from this world. And now, with Omega and Alpha thingy that you told me, I don't think you can find that kind of medicine in this world. The demon tried to convince his soulmate. Naruto huffed and crossed his arms. I can have Rimuru multiply the medicine if I ask him. He knows my situation after all. Though, I forgot about to tell him about my suppressant. Malim also around, so I can't talk much with him when she's around. She looked like a girl that will easily burst the secret. Remark him leisurely. Guy nodded, saw what his mate tried to implicate. Seeing that he didn't get what he wanted, he sighed dejectedly and slumped his head on the blonde's shoulder. Naruto glanced at Guy and sighed, feeling bad for making the demon sulk like this. It's true that the suppressant can keep his heat under control, but the effect won't last long, and he can't depend on it every time the pill wear off. It will only lose its effect on his body, and he would be immune on the effect. And that won't do when he need it to survive in this world. Guy won't be always with him, since the demon lord have his own responsibility to do at his domain. He caressed his demon hair tenderly and smiled. How about this? When my suppressant wore off, we can do it as you wanted, suggested the blonde carefully. Guy held up his head, eyes lit up in star. Really? Naruto nodded and caressed Guy's cheek fondly. Really? Meanwhile, why don't we go out and have some fun while walking the city? I know that you're curious of this place. We can go on our first date to celebrate our relationship as soulmate and lover. I also need to introduce you with my people, so they would welcome you warm-heartedly. How about it? Do you want to go? Suggested the blonde excitedly. Guy smiled softly and nodded, agree at the suggestion. Naruto smiled softly and gave a peek on the red demon's cheek affectionately. Well, let's get ready to go out, shall we? The blonde kitsune encouraged Guy, and the demon lord nodded happily. And with that, the two get ready to go out. Rimuru POV. After assigned Malim to Shuna after showing the Dragono demon lord around the town, Rimuru called for Benimaru and Sui to his home to talk. He just needed to wait for a few minutes before the two came and bowed to him respectfully. What can we help you, Rimuru-sama? Asked Benimaru curiously. The slime boy nodded at them. Raise your head, you two. Come, take a seat, he ordered promptly. Hearing the seriousness on his voice, the two nodded and take a seat on the soft cushion that was prepared by Rimuru. The humanoid slime takes sip of his tea that was prepared by Shuna before she left with Malim. A moment afterward, he looked at the two intently. He's still contemplating of what he's going to say or ask the two. The concept of knowing that he have a soulmate, two to be precise, had his feeling a bit unsure. He didn't know what to feel about this situation, but nonetheless, he needed to clear things out with Benimaru and Sui that he figured they are his soulmates. The bluish-haired boy internally sighed and started the conversation. I have a question for you two. He started, and the two males Kijin looked at each other before nodded. The leader of the nation inhaled and opened his mouth for questioning. When you two are going to tell me that you two are my soulmates? He asked firmly. The Kijin duo stilled at the question and looked at their master in surprise. They were stunned that Rimuru finally aware about their connection that they had between them. Rimuru read their expression, making him frown a little. Benimaru Sui, you two knew that I wasn't a normal slime, right? He reminded them, and the two nodded, already knowing this. But did you guys also know that I'm still a child that still knew about this world? Questioned him promptly. The two realized what their master was trying to imply. They felt guilty. We're very sorry, Rimuru-sama. But we thought that you know about this, but didn't want to confront about it for some personal reason. So we didn't bring this up to respect your wishes. Sui quickly explained. Benimaru nodded in confirmation. Feeling that there is misunderstanding between them, Rimuru feel relieved. Well, I don't. I just born a few months ago, and my knowledge are limited from my past life memories, so I didn't know about our connection. Informed him calmly. Benimaru and Sui was shocked to know that their master were this young, and also shocked that he is reincarnator. If I may ask, Rimuru-sama, voiced Benimaru hesitantly, and Rimuru nodded in permission. If you don't know about this before, how did you know now? Did someone told you? Asked the red Kijin curiously, while gazing at his soulmate expectantly. 𝐸 also gazed at his soulmate in curiosity. Rimuru hummed at the question, contemplating of what he's going to answer. "You could say that," he simply responded. The 𝐞𝐨 blinked at the simple reply, but they didn't elaborate further. "I see." A moment of silence later, Rimuru broke the silence with an elated question. "Then, does this mean we can be together now since you're finally aware, Rimuru-sama?" he asked excitedly. 𝐸 was quiet, but they know that he also excited about this. Rimuru looked at the two and contemplated his decision. He already discussed about this with the great sage, and he decided to follow his heart and try this out. He gave the two a soft smile. "Sure. I guess I can give it a try for this relationship." The two 𝐞𝐮's eyes lit up, and with a flash, they already by Rimuru's side, surprising the slime at their sudden appearance. The bluish boy then squeaked in surprise when he was lifted from his seat onto Rimura's lap. When he realized what the position he was in, he blushed in embarrassment, turning his head to his subordinate, which also his soulmate, in bashfulness. He wanted to say to the 𝐞𝐮 that he don't have to put him on his lap, but seeing how happy and delighted the samurai is, he couldn't say it and let it be. 𝐸 also looked radiant ever with his indifferent expression. Rimuru sighed fondly. "You guys really wanted this, do you?" he remarked neutrally. Rimuru and 𝐸 looked at each other and then smiled brightly at him. "Of course," they happily respond in unison. "We are really delighted that you accept us as your soulmates, Rimuru-sama. Me and Rimuru already talk about this. We would respect with whatever wishes you wanted. If you voiced that you didn't want us as your soulmate, we understand, and our relationship would only be between master and servant. But now you accepting us, we truly ecstatic," 𝐸 honestly said soft voice. Rimuru nodded in agreement and pulled the blue-haired boy closer in his arms. Rimuru looked between Rimuru and 𝐸. He can felt how much the two cherished this bond, cherished their soulmate and their relationship. A warm smile formed on the slime boy face, and let the two pampered him with affection and devotion. Naruto POV. The citizen of Tempest watched in curiosity when they caught the sight of their fox guardian walking while holding hand with unknown man, smiling warmly at the red-haired man. While for our beloved fox, he was showing Guy around the town, presenting the demon lord the scenery of lively town streets, buzzing with different species, going around and interact warmly with each other. Guy gazed at the warmth and beautiful scenery of Tempest. He enjoyed every bit things that Tempest had shows to him. The people are polite and warmth. Food here also delicious, and the atmosphere around is lively. He kind of admit that being in here is more comfortable than at his ice palace. Here, the subordinate are all welcoming and fun to have a conversation with, unlike his subordinate at his domain who is always emotionless and very obedient of his every order. It's also because they afraid of him that they didn't have a guts to rebel from him. Guy already used to it. He already used by the cold atmosphere around him, and he don't really mind much because a demon always known as cold-blooded creatures. But looking at Does genuine and warm smile of his soulmate subordinate, make Guy realize that it wasn't that bad to warmth like this. He looked at his beautiful fox beside him that was talking to one of orcs in the town. Naruto were smiling tenderly while talking politely with the elder orc. A small smile formed on the red primordial demon. He guessed having a bright soulmate sure would show you something new in life.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. See you guys again in another epic story.